Welcome to Debbie's Back Porch. It's December 21st, 2015. First day of winter, but oh, the garden is not dead. I'm showing you right now one of my great cabbages. I'm going to cut it probably later today. Over here we've got, besides weeds, we have collard greens. We've had several good meals off of those. I have broccoli growing back there and Brussels sprouts, which I don't know if I'm going to get anything out of those. I've really never had very much luck with Brussels sprouts, but we're going to give it a shot. Here we have a bed, just to show you that we have put to bed for the winter. We weeded it, sprayed it with horticultural grade vinegar for any new little weeds that were coming up, and we've covered it with aged wood mulch. This wood mulch was about 6 months old before we put it out on the garden. We'll probably add a little nitrogen to that right before springtime and let it sit, and then it'll be ready to plant. No more dirt, no more, maybe a little compost, but it'll be ready to plant. All of this I'm just sort of mentioning. What I'm really out here today for is herbs. So my herb garden is fairly large, not huge, and it doesn't get an awful lot of attention. I planted, for instance, this sage bed is 6 or 7 years old, the back half of it. The other is 3 or 4 years old, the front half. And really, all I do is cut it to gather the herbs to dry, and then after it dies back, I will prune it back pretty severely, and then it comes back. So I have to check and see if you can see. What I do is, after it starts getting cool, or after the heat of the summer has passed, I just come and cut off some nice branches to dry. And I'm going to show you how I dry them. I also have rosemary, which I'll show you that too. And I may still have some oregano. I do a natural air dry. I have done this in a dehydrator, but I really like the results better and the flavor better to just let them naturally dry. So I'm going to show you how I put these away to dry, and it usually takes about 3 or 4 weeks, but they're out of the way. And I have some that I put up about 4 weeks ago, so I'll show you how I finish them up for storage. And then we'll come back after it finally gets frosty and kills the leaves off of these, and we'll prune this. And when it gets really big, sometimes we dig them up and separate them. This particular large sage bush that one has been separated. That's how we ended up with 2 big ones. That particular sage bush has had 4 or 5 different homes in the garden. It's been moved around a lot. So let me show you the rosemary. Here's my rosemary bed, and really, it may not die back unless it gets really cold. We did trim this back last winter, not totally down to the ground, but cut off the biggest, woodiest stems, and didn't cover it, didn't mulch it, nothing. It came back, And it's very hardy and down. I think if we didn't cut it back, it would make trees. I use a lot of rosemary in cooking. And so I cut this every 3 or 4 weeks, starting at the end of summer. Let me show you down in here just to give you an idea. I don't know if you can see, but this was 6 little rosemary plants that I planted several years ago. And if you can see, there are branches in there that are like from pretty large shrubs. And we do cut those back some, but we don't strip them. And oh, it smells so wonderful here. Right in the middle of the winter, I've got this wonderful smell, and I can cut these and put them in vases in the house, and it makes it smell wonderful. So let's look at our oregano. We don't spend an awful lot of time on our herb beds. They kind of just grow, and I'll cut this. Smells wonderful too. I'll cut enough to fill up a paper bag 4 or 5 times. I mean, like a little lunch-size bag. And let it dry naturally. And have plenty of very aromatic oregano all through the winter. So let's go in and I'll show you how we did it. And by the way, over there is my lavender, and it's in its 3rd year now too. Well, here we go. We're just going to rinse these off. And I'll probably put just a little of it in the fridge and use it fresh. And I just spread them out on a pad or a towel. And I'll move these into my dining room where I got a fan to move the air and let them get dry. And when they get dry, just air dry, I don't mean totally dried, I'll just shove them in a brown paper bag and set them aside, put them somewhere where it's dry, and in 3 or 4 weeks, we'll have some herbs to clean and put away. And I'll show you now the ones that I did 3 or 4 weeks ago. Be right back. I have here several bags, but right now I have this one bag of dried sage, and I'm going to use that bag again. And I just go through it and pull off the leaves. You'll see they're very crunchy. I'll use this. I use it in several things, but if I'm making dressing, that's what I use it. What I use it mostly for is homemade sausage. And this still has a wonderful sage smell. And I have done it in a dehydrator. I just did not, in my opinion, it did not maintain the flavor as well. I know lots of folks swear by the dehydrator. I just personally like it air dried better. And if you get a couple of little stems in there, it really doesn't matter because they're going to crush up. Okay. This is now rubbed sage. And I either put it in a plastic bag or a jar. I've got several more of these to do, so I'll probably fill up a pint jar. You know, I just can't even tell you how great this smells. I'll show you the rosemary. Okay, with the rosemary, it's really a whole lot easier. You just run your fingers down it, strip it off. And it smells, the smell from this is pretty close to the fresh smell that I got out in the herb garden. And rosemary, except for maybe garlic, is my favorite herb, and I use it the most. And not that I dry the most of it, because 10 months out of the year I've got rosemary out in the garden. I'll just go cut off a twig and use it fresh. But I do like to have some dried, and I sometimes give little packets of herbs as gifts. A little messy, but not too bad. I don't know if you have priced dried rosemary in the store. It's actually kind of pricey. And what I've got here, and I keep it sealed up and it'll still smell fresh a year from now. So there you go. This is the oregano. And as I said, this was all right before Thanksgiving, so it's been right at 4 weeks. And you just pull it off and crush it as you go. I take out the bigger stems, but I can't swear to you I get all the stems out. And I'm really surprised that I've still got here almost Christmas and I've still got oregano growing. So I'm not going to let it go to waste. And this is my first year with oregano, so I don't really know if it'll last through the winter. But the sage and the rosemary, if you live anywhere around in the south, they'll last just fine. They'll come back. Oh yes, it smells wonderful. That's the oregano crushed. And so here you go. This is how we dry and preserve herbs for use year-round. Thank you for joining us on Debbie's Back Porch. Hope you join us again tomorrow.